Hey there, welcome back. I'm the Fanatic, and in today's episode, we're doing a mock draft of all of those wonderful lottery teams we saw last night, except for the Pistons, because, yeah, what you doing, me boys? You really need to fall 2 spots like that? But you know what? It's not about that today, because this draft has a lot of talent, and even the 5th pick could be special. Obviously, the Orlando Magic got the first pick, and looking at the way their roster's constructed, it's way too early to give up on Jalen Suggs. As much as I might ask them to, let's be realistic, it's not going to happen. Cole Anthony was a stud last season. We look at Franz Wagner was a stud last season. Wendell Carter was a stud last season. The only question mark we have is Jonathan Isaac playing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that he's going to be out for a little bit, a lot of the season, considering his injury history. But even if he is back, I like them taking Chet Holmgren. My reasoning? Because he can play power forward, center, small forward, whatever they need him to adjust to their injury issues. On top of that, there's a reason why we've been talking about this kid as one of the best players in the class, if not the best player in the class, for the last 2 or 3 years. He's been consistently good. He has all the skills and physicality of a big man that you could ask. He's got a knockdown 3-ball. He's got good passing sense. He's just a real unicorn type of prospect. And I feel that term is a little bit overused nowadays, considering that's just what we call a modern NBA big man now, but let's be honest. Out of all the amazing players in this class, especially at that center position, well, center, power forward, small forward kind of position, because they're all really switchable like that, which is a little weird to me, because we're looking at such an age of versatility. But that's just the modern NBA nowadays. If you can't switch 1 through 5, you're useless. And hey, Chet Holmgren, guy that can switch 3 through 5. And hey, even when a guy like Ben Simmons plays point guard, yeah, I'll take Chet Holmgren as my point guard. He can shoot threes to a decent degree. He can shoot middies to a decent degree. Post hook. Score inside, play defense. He's got really good shot blocking, which I like. A couple other things aren't great about him, but it's not. He doesn't have any significant warts that would be holding him back. Moving on to the second pick, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking Jamari Smith Jr. First off, OKC, you need a big man. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you kind of need to have a big man. Why? Well, how do I put this simply for you? Because if you don't have 7 footers with skills on the court, the other team has 7 footers with skills on the court, and they're going to dunk on you. A lot. Now, the real things for this comes down to positional need. They need a big man. That's not very debatable. Jamari Smith Jr. is arguably the number 1 player in this class. I would even make an argument about Jalen Duran at this spot, but I'm not too sure about him. Now, the good things about Jamari Smith Jr. is that he's similar to Chet. He's got a lot of tools at his disposal in terms of skill set. He's another scoring forward kind of guy with good defense and, well, better physicals in my mind with his speed and strength and his ability to get up and block shots. Not that Chets are bad, because Chets are also really good, but I feel that Jamari Smith just takes it to another level in terms of his defensive game and his switchability. And I feel that will serve him better, especially on especially on a OKC Thunder team, where we're looking at they're playing Josh Giddey, Poku, and Shea all in significant minutes, and it's like that defense might be a little bit questionable. But moving on, we have the third pick. We're getting spooky now as we get the Houston Rockets. Let's be honest here. Alfred Sengun, Jalen Green. Those are kind of the Rockets' core of the future for any reasonable amount of time, like outside of the next 5 years. I think that the pick here has to be Paulo Banchero. This is a draft where the sort of top 3 picks are pretty obvious, but everyone outside is really up for grabs. For Paulo, well, Jalen Green needs size around him. He needs somebody that can play. He needs somebody that can play the pick and roll with him, and Paulo can do that. More importantly, Paulo is an elite shot creator, and let's be honest here, if Jalen Green is the only thing carrying your offense, you're in a little bit of trouble. Not that Jalen Green is bad. If you look back at my videos, I was arguing pretty heavily that he should have been the first pick, or at least that the Pistons should have traded down for him. But having Jalen Green as your only option on offense, that's where it comes into a problem, because you can have a box Sam 1 to stop that pretty easily. And you can have a lot of options where you just keep them from getting the rack and you force them to beat you from outside and all that. But having Paulo, especially in the pick and roll game, heck, even in the pick and fade game is probably what you want, actually, being more realistic with Paulo's jump shot. Paulo's a good pick mostly because out of all of the top 3 players, he's probably the most ready to get to start scoring NBA level buckets. But his defense is probably the furthest. You look at Jamari Smith Jr. and Chet, and you could easily say that their defense is NBA ready. With Paulo, it's a little more questionable, but their shot making isn't quite on his, quite ready the way his is. Now, it does obviously raise questions about his fit next to Sengun, with him being not the most NBA ready defender, but he could still develop into a multi-positional defender and serve as an important piece on that defensive unit in the future. It's just right now he's not going to be that guy. One of the biggest ideas with drafting Paulo is that you're betting on him becoming a leader on offense and a good enough player on defense. Moving on to the 4th pick, we had Sacramento moving up. I don't even know what to say about Sacramento. Poor Sacramento. I love De'Aaron Fox, with the entirety of my heart. He's probably one of my favorite players in the NBA. I severely wish this man could just get some help. Now that I think about it, he has a little bit, but still. I just wish he could play anywhere except for Sacramento. There are obviously some options here. One of the things to consider is the owner's mandate for the team to make the playoffs, and whether or not they should try it, taking the best, most NBA ready player instead of taking the best talent-wise, period. I'd say that their best fit here, there are a couple options, but okay, get ready to flame me in the comments section. But I think that, personally, the guy here that I want the Kings to take is Jalen Duren. My reasoning? Sabonis is not your elite rim protector. He's not the guy that's going to go out and protect you at all costs. He's not the physical specimen. Now, obviously, De'Aaron Fox also has defensive struggles. I think that you have to look at what situation you're in right now, with your owner wanting to win right now, wanting to make a push for the playoffs, not wanting a championship, not wanting to win a game in the playoffs. He just wants to make the playoffs, and he's demanding that of the team. I think that the best thing you can do then is to round out your roster and get what you need. Davion Mitchell is a fine player to have in the backcourt with De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox was averaging damn near 29 points per game after the Tyrese Halliburton trade. You look at all these things combined with Domantas Sabonis, who's a skilled four. What you need is a center. What you need is Jalen Duran to have his physical, tough, defensive-minded approach, and to have him able to make up for your weaknesses on defense. He can also be an elite lob catcher due to his sheer physicality, which could be nice to see. This team is going to heavily rely on how far De'Aaron Fox can lead them, and how far Domantas Sabonis can be the second option. But after that, it comes to how much they can overcome their struggles on defense. And by taking Jalen Duran, they're making the best bet possible that they're going to be able to do something about it. Now moving on to the Pistons with the 5th pick. Whew, boys. I don't even know what to say here. I just gave someone else the player that I wanted us to have. That's not fair. Well, damn. Well, we look here and we say we have a couple options. We could take Shadon Sharpe, we could take Jaden Ivey, or we could take Adrian Griffin Jr. Wow, I'm really bad at saying names. Don't flame me about that in the comment section. Please do. Cough, cough. Moving on. Looking here just purely on team need, Killian Hayes is not getting it done. I love Killian so much. He showed such improvement after the first half of his rookie season, and we thought he could continue to his sophomore year. Nope. It just didn't happen. It didn't materialize. And that's a problem. Personally here, I think that Jaden Ivey has to be the choice because the Pistons are good at two things. They're good at defense, and they're good at getting shots. What they're not good at is making those shots. What they're really good at is having Cade Cunningham get guys open. We look at defense, they have Isaiah Stewart. They have Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes. This is the lineup of an elite defensive team. Their defense, at least in the way that they're building it, is insane. It's quite frankly, in my opinion, it will be one of the best in the league. Even if Killian Hayes is not the future starter for this team, if he's just a bench piece, I think that this team still has their defense on lock. Now, why this matters with Jaden Ivey coming? Jaden Ivey doesn't really fit that. But what he does do is he gets shots and he hits them. This is good, because that takes away pressure from Cade Cunningham to be the only guy doing something on offense. And when that happens, that means that the team starts having a nice, open, flowing offense that wins games. Why do we like winning games? Because winning games is winning games, and winning games is pride. I don't think I need to explain that. Winning good. Now, we look at that, and we also have to say Jaden Ivey might be able to become a good defender. He hasn't shown it to us yet, but you have to think about who he's working with. Dwayne Casey is the coach of the Pistons. The Pistons have a long history of working specifically to develop defensive-minded approaches, to specifically develop understanding of the importance of defense and focusing all of their effort onto that so that they can win on our side of the ball. This is one of the reasons why I like Shadon Sharp or somebody more here, purely because I'd like a little bit better defense. But Jaden Ivey is still elite. He's fast. He's fast as all living hell. He's a good leaper. He's got acrobatic finishes. There's really nothing not to like about him. It's not even that his shot is that amazing. It's that he improves it. Going from 25 to 35% from 3, that's what I call a player on NBA ready track. Now, moving on to the 6th pick, we have the Indiana Pacers. They just got Tyrese Halliburton. They've got all these... they've got Miles Turner. That's really they got. They got Miles Turner and they got Tyrese Halliburton. That's what they got going for them. Personally, I've got Adrian Griffin Jr. Why? Well, his combination of youth, physical tools, and shooting touch. He's got a great NBA frame for a wing at 6'6", 225, with a 7-foot wingspan. That's what really does it for me. He's looking like he's going to be an elite three-point shooter, with him hitting 44% of his threes on 159% attempts. Did I say percent? God, I'm bad with words today. 159 attempts as a freshman at Duke. Well, Griffin is big and sturdy. He doesn't really have great agility or flexibility, but I don't think he really needs it. We're just trying to get the Pacers somebody that can do something, that has potential for the future, that can match up with Tyrese Halliburton, provide a few of the skills their team's missing. Really, if you can just get that done, this draft is a win for the Pacers. They just want to get something. Moving on to the 7th pick, we have the Portland Trailblazers. I think that after trading CJ McCollum, but they have Anthony Simons, I'm going to go with Keegan Murray. Murray was probably the best player in college this year as a sophomore at Iowa. He's 6'8", 225 with a 6'11" wingspan. He's a power forward though, so no, he's a nice versatile forward though. He's got valuable movement shooting skills for a player with his size. He's got above average defensive ability, and he hit 39.8% of his threes last year, which, I mean, that's a pretty solid number. It's almost 40%, and you consider his 166 attempts. He's got quick release, and he's got the size to shoot over most players' contests. But when you look at a couple other things, it's just, he's not as young, and he's not as electric of a shot creator off the dribble, and he's not blowing anyone away athletically, and it's not like he's a superb defender, but he should have a long career as a 3-and-D forward, and I think that the Pacers should be happy with that at this point. Yeah. I feel like I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to realize that I completely forgot somebody. It's probably going to be Shadon Sharp. Let's go ahead and look at where... Oh, yeah, I haven't taken Shadon yet. Would you look at that? We have the New Orleans Pelicans up next. Well, I'd say Shadon Sharp fits pretty nicely on that roster. You look at what they have, and they don't really have any young guards that I trust to be future franchise contributors. Obviously, having Brandon Ingram and Zion, you don't want to draft another forward. Yeah, I think I trust that move. Moving on to number 9, we have the San Antonio Spurs. Okay, I'm going to be a little weird here, and I'm going to go against a lot of mock drafts, but I want Johnny Davis on the Spurs. My reasoning, Johnny Davis gets it done, and he's just shown such resilience and improvement, going from a 3-star to a top lottery prospect. and he's shown that his incredible improvement at Wisconsin, it's just been insane. When we consider that with the San Antonio development team, I'd really just love to see that, if for nothing else other than the storyline. But I'd also just love to see DeJounte Murray get some help on that team. The Spurs could use a little bit of everything. I think that getting DeJounte Murray a running mate in the backcourt is a good place to start. Moving on to number 10, we have the Washington Wizards. I'm going to go with Benedict Mathurin. I'm going to pretend I'm saying that name right, but you know who I'm talking about. Obviously, he led Arizona to the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, which I don't place too much respect on, but, we're at the end of the lottery here. Sure, I'll give it to him. He's a 6'5" guard. He's got good shooting range. He's got opportunistic cutting. That's something I really like out of a player, though, because if you know when to cut, you can get a lot of easy buckets that way, and that can help your team in so many ways by getting those extra 2 points. They just really add up. He's got the ability to impact the game offensively without holding the ball, with good off-ball movement and drawing the defense, which is always something amazing. His calling card's always going to be shooting. He hit 37% of his three-pointers on 225 attempts. Sheesh. He's got deep range, especially on spot-ups. More importantly, he showed ability to hit shots running off screens, especially considering the pick-and-roll usage in the NBA. That's going to be a big thing. His cutting ability, again, cut off the tape. He just jumped off. It's really something special. And I think that having him next to Bradley Beal as a high-scoring backcourt is a good idea, because Bradley Beal needs someone to draw attention away from him for no other reason than simply Bradley Beal can't do it all himself, and you get Kyle Kuzma there too to do some things. Kyle Kuzma will be good. It will be really good too. At number 11, we have the New York Knicks, and we have another G League prospect, Mr. Dyson Daniels is who I'm taking. Listen, I really like G League players purely because they've been playing against better competition. And that's really all I have to say about them. Do I need to say more? No, a 6'8" wing with a 6'11" wingspan. That's always nice. He's a good defender. He adds some offensive value with his passing and ball handling. He's a real point-of-attack defender with quick feet and active hands who can cut off the driving lanes and get over screens, force takeaways in a lot of different situations. On offense, he just kind of holds everything together by being a quick ball mover on the perimeter. And he can bend the defense with his driving ability. He's a good enough passer to be a secondary playmaker in most lineups. There is one notable weakness for him at this stage, and that's got to be his outside shooting, making just 30% of his threes on the year. But he did get better as the season went along, and that's something we need to note. One of the things that he's probably going to carve a role out most for himself on is being a perimeter stopper on defense. If his jump shot improves, he could be a nice, versatile, ball-handling wing that a lot of teams crave. Moving on to pick number 12, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder again. This time we're going with Jeremy Sochan. He was one of the biggest surprises of this freshman class at Baylor. Of this freshman class, I can't speak today. Wow, this is great. He's one of the biggest surprises of this draft class as a freshman at Baylor. A 6'9", 230-pound forward with another 7-foot wingspan. We're seeing a lot of those in We're seeing a lot of those in this draft, which is one of the reasons why I'm starting to not place so much importance on it anymore, is because there's the sheer amount of quantity of it. It's not as special anymore. There's not as much of an advantage, but at the same time, it gives a disadvantage to players who don't have it. He's arguably the most versatile defender in the draft, and he's shown some flashes of creation skills on offense. For someone his size, he's a great horizontal athlete with his lateral quickness. He's shown no problem sticking with guards on the perimeter, and he's big enough to battle it out inside. He projects as a nice wing stopper and switchable defender, especially on those pick and roll options. He's got a couple options for offensive value. He's an impressive ball handler and a smart passer where he's stationary or on the move. His biggest red flag is, again, his jump shot. He hit 29.6% of his threes on 81 attempts, which is a smaller amount of attempts, so it's not as crazy, but we can see why he was taking less of them. He only made 58.9% of his free throws, that's definitely a scarier number. After averaging only 14.7 points per 40 minutes at Baylor, Sochan will have to prove that he can score enough to make NBA defenses respect him. His offense is definitely a project right now, but he's definitely one of those winning role players on defense. Okay. Last two picks, because draft lottery is only at 14 nowadays, and this is already a 30-minute video. Number 13 is the Charlotte Hornets. We're having them take Terry Eason. Eason left Cincinnati after his freshman year, come to LSU, and he had a nice breakout season. He established himself as a first-round pick as a 6'8", 216-pound forward. He's a monster athlete, and he's got great motor, which is something I really like about players nowadays, especially after witnessing Isaiah Stewart and Bam Adebayo. He's got a habit of ripping the ball away from the opposition when he's on defense. He's just good in those. He's good at getting steals. Really, really good. When he forces a turnover, it's usually 2 points that are away. He's good on the fast break. It's really this fast break ability that leads him to being potentially explosive player in this draft. Is his ability to make stops and turn it into points and turn it into a highlight play. Finally, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 14. Whew. I'm going to be a little weird here. We'll go with Malachi Branham from Ohio State. He wasn't projected as a one and done, but he definitely had a good enough end to his freshman year to justify such a high selection. 6'5" shooting guard, 6'10" and a half wingspan. He's an old school shooting guard. He prefers mid-range pull-ups and catch and shoot opportunities. He definitely shows a lot of catch and shoot potential, which is one of the things that we like about him. He took 153 non-rim two-pointers this year, and he knocked them down at a pretty good 43% clip. Created most of those looks himself, with only 18% being assisted, and knowing how to get his spots and having the ability to rise and shoot over defenses. He was impressive from three-point range too, with 41% of 90 attempts, most of which on spot-ups, which something I don't love about him is maybe that he doesn't rely on his teammates enough, but it's also really good that he has the ability to generate his own offense, and it's something you're going to need at the NBA level. If his pull-up mid-range shots can become pull-up threes, You could have a lot more upside than we even think now, purely because, well, basic math, 3 is more than 2. No, it's because when you look at it in modern day terms, first off, you can't really guard someone that is an exclusive mid-range player nowadays, but aside from turning down their mid-range. But when you have multiple dimensions to that, like Kawhi Leonard with his finishing and mid-range ability, DeMar DeRozan his finishing and mid-range ability, having those two options, you can only take away one, and the mid-range one is usually the one they leave for you. The reason being is that it's harder for them to play defense on, so they usually focus a lot less on it. In terms of, when you think about it, it doesn't make much sense for them to... It's a tougher shot, less worthwhile shot. If they take a 3 and they score 3 points, 3 is more than 2. You made the right decision by closing out on the 3 and letting them have the midi. A mid-range shot is better than an open dunk, so you're making the right decision there. It's just basic logic that they're going to focus more on the midi, or focus less on the midi and more on these other options if you have them in your offense. Anyway, that's it. That's all of the lottery teams. You can be done hearing my voice now. That's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.